Excuse me. Let's get started. We appreciate everybody coming tonight and welcome you to our October 4th board meeting tonight. We'd like to excuse our couple of board members, Bruce Jardine and Jan. They are both out of town tonight, and so we'll carry on without them. We're going to begin tonight with a musical performance by Orion Junior High Chamber Choir, and they will be performing Windy Nights, directed by Taylor Rain. And following the performance, we will have another Orion Junior High student, Victoria Bingham, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's give our students from Orion another big round of applause. Thank you. Mr. Rain, thank you. We'll let Mr. Swalberg finish moving that piano, and then we'll have him come and get this meeting started. Are you huffing and puffing now?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to give another shout out to Orion Junior High. As a former principal of Orion, it's always amazed me at the wonderful talent that our young people have and our wonderful teachers that inspire them to live their dreams and do those amazing things. So With that, President Whittison, Board, Superintendent Butters, it is my pleasure to acknowledge one of our amazing teachers, Mr. Clay Dyer. Mr. Dyer, if you could come up and join me for just a moment. So Mr. Dyer has recently been awarded with the prestigious Utah Science Teacher Association's Region 2 Outstanding Elementary Science Educator Award. That's a mouthful. We congratulate Mr. Dyer on this wonderful honor and achievement. Mr. Dyer has been with the Weber School District for 30 years. 1 year he spent as a special ed paraeducator at Lomanview, and for the past 29 years he has been at Washington Terrace Elementary. 17 of those years he spent in 2nd grade, and the last 12 in 6th grade, where he is currently teaching. On a side note, Mr. Dyer not only is a science genius, but he also directs and produces a yearly play at Washington Terrace Elementary. Principal Tana Chip said that Mr. Dyer is always positive with his students, and he encouraged them to always do their best. He is an amazing teacher. So with that, Board, Superintendent Butters, I present you Mr. Clay Dyer.
Thank you very much. So I brought with me my sister, Mary, and my mom, Catherine. Might not be able to see Mom. She's in a wheelchair, and a little shorter than everyone else. Thank you.
Congratulations on that. Come up, let us all shake your hand. And thanks again, Kurt. Thanks again, Clay. Let's move on to the consent calendar. Board, you've had an opportunity to review the items in this month's consent calendar. I'd entertain a motion to accept the calendar. Doug, thank you. A second? Kelly, thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We have a couple more recognitions that we would like to do. I'll turn a little time over to Mr. Brock Mitchell. You moved from when I couldn't find you.
All right. Board President, Board, and Superintendent, I have the fantastic honor tonight of recognizing Lacey Peterson as a recipient of the I Love Teaching Award. So Lacey, if you'll come on up, please. This is a special night for me because I was the principal at Bonneville High School when we brought Lacey into this district. We lucked into Lacey, I say. She was at Clearfield previously and was looking for a change. And at the time, we didn't have a counseling opening. But one of our counselors that was on staff knew that she was looking for something different. And we had a counselor who was about a year away from retiring and said, this is someone we would want to keep our eye on in the future. And we got to the point where we actually needed a student advocate. So we reached out and said, Lacey, we want to get to know you a little better for a year. Would you be interested in applying for our student advocate role? With no promises of the counselor in the future, but she shined in that year, and there was no way we could pass this up. So we were smart and strategic in making sure that we had an opportunity to bring Lacey over. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to get to know Lacey a little bit. And Trent, you're clicker's not working over. There we go. So this is Lacey. We got a lot of pictures of Lacey. And what you'll realize about Lacey, she's full of life. Like I mentioned, she's been at Bonneville for 6 years. She's stepped into many roles during that time. And one that she's excelling at right now is working with student government. And she's helped with cheer in the past. She's a lifelong cheerleader. She's taught cheer or coached cheer previously. And I'll refer back to that a little bit later in this slideshow, but you'll see what I mean. But the most important thing is what Lacey does for students. And over the time that I was at Bonneville, I know it's continued in the 2 years since I've been gone, is Lacey is student first. She is all about making sure that our students are prepared for graduation. And she works with every student and gives them the hope. And this is one student, and I know there's a lot here, but I think it says a lot about Lacey, so I want to spend the time to read through it. It says, "You are amazing, you are loved. I hope you see, I hope you know. Because of you, I get to walk on that stage and see what the future holds for me. No matter how confusing or hard my life gets, you have always been someone that has seen more in me than I've seen in myself. I haven't given up because you have been someone to make proud. Ms. Peterson, thank you for showing me that it's okay not to have it all together and all figured out, and just because we think we can do it all on our own doesn't mean we should or have to. Thank you. Thank you for what you do for not just me, but everyone each and every day. For being there when we are at our worst, to being there to celebrate us at our best. Thank you for being our soldier on the front line of the fights we face. Mrs. Peterson, I'm so grateful to have you in my life." I don't think anybody could have said it better. And this is a senior right now who has gone through some struggles. I saw it firsthand, and I know Lacey has seen it, and she does this for every kid. It's amazing the difference she makes. One particular thing that means a lot to me is Lacey's first year was the year that we had the COVID shutdown. And about 2 weeks after the shutdown, she came to me and said, "I've got this idea, and I want to see what you think." And so she pitched an idea because kids were not connected to the school anymore. And she said, we need to make sure these kids realize that they're still part of us, right? So she pitched the idea, and we said, run with it. Show us what you can do. And she came back with these door hangers. And you can see on the front it says, "Your Laker family loves you." And on the back it's, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" asked the boy. "Help," said the Admiral. And her message was, it's okay to ask for help in tough times. All right? And so as a staff, we rallied around Lacey. This was her baby. She put this all together. The stickers there are stickers that we attached to those, and we put a candy cane. And we delivered one to every student on their doorstep in Bonneville. And this is what Lacey means to that school. She thinks about the big picture. There's some wise words from colleagues. Lacey's an amazing educator. She works hard at everything she does and is always ready and willing to jump in and help out others. She cares deeply about people and their well-being. She has the trust of her students and goes beyond expectations to help them become successful. As our department head, Lacey takes on extra responsibilities to make sure we are providing the best support to students and staff at Bonneville. There are nights I'd have to kick Lacey out because she would try and take on other people's responsibilities. That's the kind of person she is. She doesn't want to see anybody struggle, and she's willing to step in when they are. Lacey does everything with a flair for fun. I love how she always thinks big about how something can be done, not settling for the bare minimum. And when we talk flair for fun, she's all in. All right, so she will get in the dunk tank. You can see there after the aftermath of the dunk tank. Looks like with Mr. Murray, she did some ropes course as my guest there. All right, you'll notice he's on crutches. Yeah. There's no correlation, for Halloween, she's willing to jump in, and that's her team there in the lower right. She sets the tone, and they have a lot of fun together. We had a counselor that retired a few years back, Tom Markeski. And she helped come up with Tom Day, where Tom wore a shirt and tie every day. And to honor him, she challenged the staff to wear a shirt and tie to look like Tom. And you can see there the fruits of her efforts. That's Tom Day. Final words from colleagues. even when she's frustrated, tired, or discouraged, she will vent for a minute, pull up her big girl pants, and laugh about it. Lacey and I had a lot of closed door conversations about tough things where our frustrations were at the surface. And we talked through them, and in the end, she always knew where to keep her focus. It was on the students and what was best for them, and she was always in the fight. Lacey was exactly what Bonneville needed, exactly when they needed her. We had a great counseling team, and in a matter of 2 years, we had an entire swap of our team. They all retired, and we replaced, and Lacey is a big part of that. Lacey's a rare combination of heart, grit, authenticity, and action, and with Lacey, anything can be turned into a cheer. So, if you remember, Carla Porter, one of her bucket list items was to be part of a flash mob. And Lacey was the one that put together the cheer for that flash mob. There's a video out there somewhere. You might contact Laura Lee to get it if you really want to see it. But you can see there her teammates are right there in the middle. You can even find Assistant Superintendent Clyde Moore somewhere on that video if you dig deep enough. And the one thing that I know Lacey's proud about, she's proud of everything she's done, but I know that she is very proud of her family. This is something that has meant a lot to her, so I wanted to make sure I recognize that. So I want to congratulate Lacey for all the hard work she does. She is definitely deserving of the I Love Teaching Award for this month's board meeting. Congratulations, Lacey.
Well, I'm mortified, so thanks everyone. I brought that rambunctious toddler in the hall that you can hear screaming. My mom and my dad, my husband, and my sister. So thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay there. Mr. Murray, where are you hiding? Wave. Oh, there you go. Thanks, you guys, for everything that's going on and everything that you do. Great job with that. Mr. Mitchell, thanks.
Rich, can you hobble up?
It was a superintendent's suggestion. I seen it. We gotta have the Weaver School District.
Wonderful. Let's go next to an E+ Team Award. Mary Jo Williams. You're already there.
President Widdison, Board, Superintendent Butters, I am also very happy to have the opportunity tonight to present this award. Hooper is very near and dear to my heart, and so are these people that we're going to talk about tonight. So this is the second grade team at Hooper Elementary, and we're going to introduce them and get to know them a little bit as we go through these slides. I think you can tell just by the way they look there that they love working together and especially love helping kids. This is what their administrator, Mrs. Breeding, says about this team. Stephanie Lichty, Stacy Wilcox, and Cami Bolingbrook have consistently demonstrated exceptional effectiveness in their collaborative efforts to enhance student learning and achievement. This team has exhibited an outstanding commitment to analyzing student data, identifying individual student learning needs, and creating targeted learning interventions and extensions in order to meet all of their students' needs. In their minds, all of our second grade students are their students, and they work together to meet all needs. Over the past 3 years, an average of 81% of their students have achieved typical growth or above typical growth on the end of year Acadience reading test. This is an exemplary accomplishment, and students benefit from their collaborative nature and strong teamwork. I had the opportunity last year to understand firsthand just when they say all of our students are all of our students. We had another teacher in that grade who went out on medical leave, and rather than bring in a brand new teacher, they took those students and divided them among their classes and finished the year that way because those students were already used to those teachers and the systems they had in place. So this is Mrs. Lichty, and let me have you stand up and come on up to the front. And this is just a bulletin board outside of her room. It says, "Dream Big, second graders." And there's a few other things there along with their names. This is Mrs. Bolingbrook, and if you'll come on up also. This picture happened to be during their small group intervention time, which is where they do the things they do to get those achievements with those students. This is what it says outside of her door. You can't be best friends with everyone, but you can notice everyone, be friendly to everyone, make room for everyone, and root for everyone. So you can imagine what type of culture they've created in second grade at Hooper. Not sure why we're doing double, but Mrs. Wilcox, will you come on up? They're so happy to be up here, I can tell. And this is what we see outside her door. Do you have a growth mindset? And there are some of the phrases they use to help those students know that if they don't have it yet, they will. Here are some comments from their students. Mrs. Bolingbrook never gets mad. She always helps us and is so kind. Her lessons are fun and interesting. She is just so nice, and we love her so much. Mrs. Lichty is so funny. She made up this really funny song about all the even numbers. On Fridays, we have a test, and if we skip a word or forget, she helps us remember it. I feel perfect when I'm around my teacher. Mrs. Wilcox makes us feel better if we are having a bad day. She makes learning so fun. At the end of the day, she always reads to us, and it's the favorite part of my day. All of the second grade teachers do the Star Student of the Week, and we love it. We get to bring a poster about ourselves and show and tell on Fridays. This makes us feel special. So on behalf of elementary education, we want to say congratulations on a well-deserved E+ Team Award. Thank you. Before you go up, let me just have you introduce who you brought with you tonight. And have them stand up if you want.
I brought my husband, Robert.
And I brought my husband, Kelly.
And I brought my husband, Kurt, and also our fabulous admin is here to support us as well, Carrie Breeding.
Mrs. Breeding, I was just going to have her come up.
Yep.
Let's give them one more round of applause.
I graduated from Hooper Elementary 51 years ago.
Whoa.
That was an accomplishment in my life.
Did you have those teachers?
Thanks for everything you do. That's awesome. We'll now move into the public comment portion of our meeting. We've got our sign-up sheets here. As a reminder, please state your name, the schools your children attend, your city of residence, the topic you wish to address, and whether you're representing yourself or a group. And a reminder about our 3-minute time slots that we've set up. And let's start with Kayleen Hansen, please.
Man, seeing yourself's no fun. Okay. Hi, my name's Kayleen Hansen. I am a product of Weber School District, and I have 3 children that attend currently, all at Roy Junior High, twins. We live in Hooper City, Weber School District, Precinct 4. What else was I supposed to tell you? I represent myself, my family.
There you go.
Okay. I'm also a member of the Roy Junior High District Boundary Committee and the parent representative for Roy Junior High District Committee. I've attended all meetings, including the board meetings here, both in March and last month in September. I also represent the parents of Roy Junior on the 5600 UDOT Community Connection team. I find it difficult to verbally articulate clear points in just 3 minutes, so I wrote it down. But I also sent you an email yesterday with my primary concerns and also reasons of support via email. So tonight, I'd just like to take this time to share the why I believe student safety should be a key deciding factor with the boundary proposals. From the beginning, one thing the committees were told were to focus on the overall benefits of boundary changes for the long term, not just what is best for ourselves or our immediate neighborhood. As you know, the parents in our schools are cyclical, meaning that as kids grow, their school changes. I feel confident in stating that for the last 9 years, my husband and I were an integral part of Freedom Elementary, day to day. We're in a new year, and that's changed, and we're no longer a part of the daily fabric of Freedom Elementary. In that vein, I viewed the Boundary Committee's responsibility the same, needing to hold this long-term perspective. I definitely have personal opinions on which schools I want my kids to attend, but the long-term decision of boundaries is bigger than any individual family, including my own. Most likely October 23rd, 2002 was a typical day for most people in this room. However, October 23rd, 2002 was the day my friend and classmate of 12 years, Jean Holmes, was killed on her way to school in our district. On her way to school, crossing a very busy road, her life was cut short in our senior year because it was an unsafe route to school. Yeah, the situation was different. Different road, different school. But what makes it the same is that the school route, when it first became a route, was safe. But as the years progressed, nothing was done to revise that, and the roads became much busier. It took a life-ending tragedy for the route to be reviewed and for changes to be made. I believe we as a committee, and you all as the board, have an obligation to the 34,000 plus students in this district to have the safest possible route to school. For the parents that feel strongly that their children can and should cross 5600 to get to Roy Elementary, they can still apply to attend that school with a boundary exception. I'm very aware there's no perfect solution ahead of you guys today, but we do have the opportunity to consider the safety of a large number of students when making final decisions of boundary lines. I urge you to keep long-term student safety at the forefront of your decision-making process today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hansen. It's difficult when they put a 5-lane road right in front of your elementary school, isn't it? Okay, Craig Bowden, please.
So my name is Craig Bowden, and I'm with, well, I represent my son, Will Bowden, who's a 5th grader in the robotics program at Lowman View Elementary School. And I'm here regarding a policy that my understanding is the funding to give kids the opportunity to go to the World's competition has been taken away. My son last year was his first year as a 4th grader in the World's robotics competition, and I'm a huge sports fan. I wanted my son to play sports. He got into robotics. He's not the greatest sports player out there. I never thought I'd be here at a meeting a year later fighting so passionately for his ability to be able to go back to nationals. He taught me some very inspiring lessons as he got into robotics. He had huge, big dreams, and I kept telling him, well, you know, it's great to have big dreams, but guess what? You know, these robots are better than you. He wanted to go to a state competition, and the first time he didn't make it. You know, the second competition, he tried to qualify. He was close to the bottom of everyone in the standings. He scored some of the highest scores in the state all year long in his last 4 rounds, and he took first place and made it to the state competition. I had warned him that, hey, Will, you're probably not going to make it to state. I warned him again when he got to state. These robots are way better than yours. It's great to dream big and get to the world competition, but your robot's just not good enough. You know, and I didn't say it that way. I guess I said, you know, just realize these robots are really, really good. Kind of trying to temper down his expectations. He ended up at the end of that round being first place and qualifying for World's competition. He blew my mind. As big as a Utah Jazz fan I am, to me that meant more for him to go to Worlds than any Utah Jazz championship I've dreamed about for 30 years. When he made it to Worlds, I told him, Will, you can dream big to get an award here, but these robots are scoring twice what you are. And they did score twice what he was. And I actually left during the awards ceremony because I knew that my son probably would not receive an award. He came home with what was called the Inspire Award for sportsmanship and teamwork. While he was there, he got paired up with a robot that couldn't score any points because it was broken. Instead of scoring more points all on his own, his team helped that team score some points, and they scored a horrible score, dropping them way down in the standings. My son inspired me at nationals. He inspired me that he can dream big and he can accomplish those things. And that's what he learned by going to these, nationals, but the world's competitions where he competed with teams from China and all around the world, Japan, Australia. This year he has his dream big goal of he's going to be on the main stage scoring the most points, and he's going to win an award to go to nationals. And when I heard the news that I was probably right, that he shouldn't dream big, that the district's going to just come and take away his ability to dream big and to accomplish it, I didn't want to be right. I want to be wrong. I want him to be able to dream big and be able to go to nationals.
Thanks.
Or world, sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Bowden. Do you want to address that a little bit? Okay.
So, Board, I'd love to address that. I know that we're in the middle right now of creating a travel policy for Weber School District, and one of the questions that's arisen is, you know, are we going to allow, as a district, elementary age students to travel out of state to competitions? And we're in the middle of that process. We haven't completed the draft. I know that Kelly and Jan are sitting on that committee, and we just appreciate your great comment, sir. It's a difficult thing because of some of the liability pieces that the district you know, takes on with those types of things, but we certainly want to make sure that you understand we don't want to take away any dreams of your youngster right there, but we do have state competitions and things like that we can also make sure that they continue to be funded for and participate in. So it'll be up to the policy team that comes forward and the presentation of that and the recommendation of that policy, but we'll use that information to inform that. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Bowden, would you bring your son up and let him tell us a little bit about what happened at that competition? You can come up and stand with him if you'd like. And
do you want to? We've got a microphone too.
That's even your size.
So Worlds was pretty fun, I thought. And so since going to Worlds, I've really been dreaming about going to Worlds again. I thought it was super fun and all. And so I really have been dying to go to Worlds again.
Awesome.
Where's
Where?
World at?
Yeah. Where was it at? Where was it held at? What city?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. And how many kids participated in that?
800 teams.
800 teams. And were you kind of on the younger end of that, or middle?
Younger.
Younger end of it. Awesome. What kind of robot do you have?
Kind of don't know how to explain.
Is something you dreamed up? You
Yes.
designed it yourself?
Still building it, huh?
Still building it.
How long has it taken you to build it?
3 to 4 months.
Are you gonna use the same robot as you continue to move forward? Or can you rebuild new ones, or what's the?
We can rebuild it, but I feel like we should stick with this robot because it's been pretty
If it
good.
went to Worlds, it's done well, hasn't it?
So one question, additional question, I'm sorry. So what grade are you in?
I'm in 5th grade, but last year I was in 4th.
So when you get to the university or you graduate, what do you want to do with this robotics?
I haven't really thought of that yet.
Do you want to make missiles? Do you want to go to the moon? What are you doing with this? It sounds like you're in a field that I'm not even close to. But it'd be awesome to have somebody from, where do you live?
Pleasant View.
Pleasant View, going, making a sign, a big old name for us. So best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming up. That's kind of scary, do it, Con.
Have him come around.
Come
We'd like to
around
shake
and
his
shake his hand and congratulate him again. That's. Thanks for coming up. Okay, let's move on. We have some discussion items, and we'll turn to Dr. Robert Peterson and where did Robert come? We just can't keep our finger on him.
He was saying he had ADD on film, like really? He's probably typing it up.
Dr. Peterson, we're waiting for you, bud.
I just know the Bowdens, and I was sending her the photos.
That's wonderful.
I took photos. Okay, all right. So we're to the interlocal agreement. Board, as we discussed in our study session, we have 2 interlocal agreements. They're items 5A and 5B. The first is the Chromalox. It's a industrial expansion that we're partnering with with Chromalox out on the north end of the county, and it's a 10-year agreement, 50% participation. Currently, we collect $75,000, a little over $75,000 in taxes. With this agreement and the expansion of Chromalox, we'll have a new annual amount on top of that of about $141,000 to the district, and it's a 10-year agreement, and it'll help keep Chromalox here and do good things. It's a win-win. And so we have Stephanie Russell here from the county, and if she could speak to it briefly, and then we'll take a vote.
President, Board, and Superintendent, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Weber County's Community Reinvestment Agency. I'm Stephanie Russell. I'm the Economic Development Director and Manager of the Economic Development Finance Committee for Weber County. As I mentioned in the study session, the county is very supportive of this particular project. Chromalox has been in the county for quite a long time, since 1976. They're an advanced manufacturing facility, and this improvement would this expansion would involve $43 million in building and infrastructure improvements, as well as about $12.7 million in new machinery and equipment. In addition to that, there would be 155 jobs over a 10-year period. The county is asking that you partner with us on this interlocal agreement and on this particular project at 10 years for 50% of the tax increment that would be generated from this project. That would look like $2,451,153 going to the school district over a 15-year period of time. That's an average of $163,410 a year that this particular project would generate for the school district. We would put a cap on this project, so they would meet that. If they met that cap before the 10-year period, you would then get the 100% increment instead of the 50%. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions, Robert?
Thanks, Stephanie. We would recommend that the board approve this interlocal agreement with Weber County and Chromalox.
Any discussion from the board? I would look for a motion then to approve the interlocal agreement with Chromalox on the CRA. Kelly, a motion, a second on that?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Let's move on to Roy City, Robert.
Okay, this is another CRA, community redevelopment. It's with Royce City, and the title of this is the 1900 Southeast CRA. It's an exciting, I think it's great, 67-acre site south of Riverdale Road between 1900 West and I-15. It's a somewhat blighted area. In other words, it's not a lot's happened there for a long time, and big changes are happening in the area, and as a result of Northrop Grumman coming and those type of things. And so Roy City has proposed this interlocal agreement with the CRA to provide tax dollars above what we're currently collecting to go help support that. Currently, we collect about $271,000 in the area per year. We expect that to go up an additional, on the average over the life of this CRA, $306,000. And we have Rob Sands here to answer questions or to address it. So, Rob, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Dr. Peterson, members of the board and superintendent. This is what we discussed earlier. So yeah, we really went through and tried to create kind of a win-win project for both the school district and the city. This really just kind of a note of tax increment. The good news is it's not a tax increase. So what you're currently collecting in that area, you'll continue to collect, and we're just negotiating to share a portion of the new increment throughout the life of the project area. And then an example why we need this is that Roy Innovation Center came along with 5,000 new high-paying jobs, and those people are looking for places to live, Class A amenity places. And so this is kind of what the downtown area of Roy looks like, and this is what it's going to be rebranded as, a place to live, work, play, something to be proud of for Roy. And then there'll be other development that will spur from that. We anticipate about $232 million of new assessed value. So 70%, 20 years, you're currently getting $271,000 a year. You'll be getting an additional $306,000 a year, and you'll be sharing $715,000 a year. And then just a little map that kind of a little graph that shows that. So the yellow is what you're currently getting. The light green is what you'll be receiving. The gray is what you'll be sharing with the agency. And then once that project area ends, you'll be capturing all that benefit that, but for the creation of this project area, wouldn't be realized. So any questions with that?
Partnership.
Yep. Oh, and then the partnership, let me get to that. So we have that 10% affordable housing set aside, which is $124,000 a year, $2.5 million over the 20 years. And we envision sharing a portion of that to help school teachers live in the school district boundary. So we will help fund a program to help offset the costs of down payments and other things for teachers in the school district. And then the main reason for it is we're going to have those parking structures, which are expensive, and then also some true redevelopment expenses for that infill development. Any questions?
Any questions? You know, I remember going to the big city of Roy when I was a kid, and that area was old then.
Yeah.
So something needs to be done.
Yeah, I saw Mr. Hells was my 4th grade teacher. So I went to Municipal Elementary, and when I presented to you guys the first time, it hasn't changed since I've been there. And you're like, well, it hasn't changed since we were there either. So it's been about that for a
different
while. So
sign
we're
goes up in the
excited.
window, but the buildings are all
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Board, can I have a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Roy City regarding the tax increment funding on 1900?
Mr. President, I move that we approve that, having worked at Roy City as long as I did and seeing this happen. This is a positive partnership for both of us, especially with the teacher issue, having a housing. So thank you. So I make that motion.
Thank you. Janice, second. Any discussion for any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passed. Robert, let's continue on with the consideration of a resolution authorizing the issuance of some bonds.
As you recall, back in November of 2021, voters overwhelmingly approved $279 million in bonds for construction of 4 schools, 3 new ones and a elementary. And we are issuing this money over 3 years, 1 issue per year, and we're teeing ourselves up to issue the second or the third and final installment of this $279 million. This is a parameters resolution. It sets the wheels in motion. And without this parameters resolution, we cannot sell bonds. But when it comes to it, if the market conditions aren't favorable, we can put it off. But we need the parameters resolutions, and we've done these before many times. In addition, we're also piggybacking, thanks to our council with Ryan Bierke and Matt Dugdale. They have there's opportunity, if the market's right, for refunding a 2013 series of bonds that we had sold in 2013 and a 2014 series of bond. And by refunding, typically you get a better interest rate, but more important, sometimes you don't, but sometimes you get the same, but more important, you get a chance to restructure your debt and to make it affordable and favorable for the future. As we, at some point, we're a growing district, we will go for another bond election at some point, and we like to restructure the debt to put us up and the taxpayer in the best position possible. And so we are recommending that you approve this parameters resolution. And we have Ryan Bierke and Matt Dugdale here. They're very familiar faces. That we appreciate their services, and we're grateful they're here. Another good thing about having the refunding possibly in with this first issue is that there's cost to going out to the market, and those costs can all be consolidated rather than doing them separate transaction, and that would be savings. Yeah. Do you guys have anything to add? Yeah, only if you have questions.
And yeah, any questions, board, for either Ryan or Matt on this?
Kelly asked if this is the end. This is the end of our 2021 election. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yes. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay. So
we appreciate all the help you guys give us continually. You come up and sit through these board meetings for hours for 2 minutes of fame. So thanks for everything you do.
They told me they really like our board meetings, so they always walk away inspired.
Matt told me he was going to bring his guitar to the next board meeting and play. Okay. Board, you've heard the consideration of that resolution. I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $118 million worth of general obligation bonds. I have a motion, Doug. Thank you. A second, Kelly. Any further discussion? Any other questions? All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Robert. Now let's move on to our approval of our boundary recommendations for the Westfield cone. Oh, there you are. You keep moving, Mr. Mitchell.
Just keeping you guessing tonight.
You are.
Board President, Board Superintendent, we've reached an exciting opportunity to reach hopefully some approvals on a couple boundaries for our upcoming new schools. The district committee has reviewed some feedback that was brought for the high school proposal since our last board meeting. The feedback was similar to what was proposed ahead of the first reading, so with no new feedback that would cause any discussion or change in the boundaries. The district committee would recommend proposal 1, high school proposal 1 to the board, with the caveat of 10th grade students and 11th grade students being considered grandfathered and having the opportunity to finish through at their current high school through graduation. And so we present high school proposal 1 to the board with that caveat on second reading.
Thank you. Don't move. Board, we'd entertain a motion to approve the high school boundary. Oh,
No, I was just gonna say I'll make that motion
Oh.
to approve that.
okay. Entertain a motion to make the boundary recommendation of proposal 1. Kelly, a second on that. Janice, any other discussion, questions for Mr. Mitchell? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
And make sure you thank everybody, all the committee people that have worked so hard on these. That's been a long, laborious process
Yes,
for the
we
group.
certainly will. The second, on the secondary level, is the junior high school boundaries for Mountain View and the changes from there. Similar to the high school, we did receive some feedback, mainly from the West Haven area. That was feedback that was presented prior to last board meeting. It was worked through the entire year that we've been in this process. So in the last month, there was no new feedback that needed to be looked at, and any recommendations changed. So with that lack of new information, we would, as a district committee, like to recommend junior high school proposal number 2 to the board on second reading for approval.
Thank you. Board, can I get a motion to approve the junior high school boundary recommendation proposal number 2? Kelly, thank you. A second? John?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
I'll turn to Mary Jo.
Okay.
President Widdowson, Board Superintendent, this is an end to what President Widdowson expressed as a long, laborious process, but we are so very grateful for all those people that were involved and helped us get to this point. For the elementary, what we wanted to do was just clarify a couple of things that were discussed after our last board meeting. They had to do with some busing. If we look at an area that was formerly Valley View Elementary and, was West Haven Elementary, and is now coming to be part of Midland Elementary if this proposal is accepted by the board. And in checking with transportation, this area would be bused across Midland Drive to Midland Elementary. Another area that we wanted to talk about is down in the municipal boundaries. If, once again, this proposal is accepted by the board, those are the tracks, and there is a safe walking route across the tracks, but we are talking with transportation if there is a possibility of busing those students to municipal elementary. We did want to share a couple of new concerns that have come to light since our last board meeting. There were a few concerns and shared by Valley View Elementary in the area where you can see the marker up there. These students previously attended Valley View and will now be attending Midland Elementary. They were bused to Valley View and will now walk to Midland because they'll be in Midland's walking zone. Some concerns have been shared about the difficulty of the students walking the distance to Midland Elementary, and also raised a concern about some additional cars in the parking lot there at Midland Elementary, because some parents may choose to transport their students as opposed to having them walk. They did also share a couple of positives from Valley View, that they no longer have to cross the tracks to get to Valley View, and that their enrollment is going to increase from 61% to 71%. So we just wanted to share that information with you since it was new. And there was a concern shared at the district boundary meeting by Municipal Elementary that with proposal number 3, there would be a decrease in enrollment at Municipal. As we looked at the numbers projected for the 24-25 school year, their enrollment would go from 76% to 72%, which is about 20 students. So we just wanted to let people know that we did look into that, and those are the projected enrollments. And there is the possibility of some growth in Roy, as we just heard, and that would also help to bolster that enrollment at Municipal Elementary. There were some continued concerns shared that we have been made aware of as we've gone through this process, and they have to do with 5600 being used as a boundary in proposal number 2. This isn't new information. We've had many discussions. We did, though, go and do additional observations, analysis of that area, and watched students walking to and from school, watched how the Hawk worked as far as helping to get students across that. And we feel like that is an organized system, and it functions well right now in that community, and anticipate that it will continue to function well. We also know that they will be building a pedestrian bridge that students may use to cross 5600 once that construction is complete. So we wanted to make you aware that those were not new concerns, but we did look into them further. So we are recommending proposal 3 for the elementary school level boundary adjustment to the board for approval for these reasons: that it provides a balanced enrollment at our elementary schools, and it creates contiguous school boundaries. So at this time, we would like to recommend proposal 3 to the board for the boundary adjustment for the elementary level.
Okay.
I should add too that this boundary proposal process was to determine the boundaries for the new elementary school, and those boundaries are the same in all 3 proposals. The things that I discussed were some of those ripple effects that happens to those schools after we adjust some of those other boundaries.
Okay. Wonderful. Board, any further discussion on that?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we table this proposal on the elementary for a future board meeting until we can get some more studies done that we're waiting for. You mentioned, Ms. Williams, that there was a couple of things on transportation, and make sure that we go through this process methodical. We only do this every once in a while, and I don't think it hurts to wait just a little bit longer where we got everything in place. So that would be my recommendation, Mr. President.
I would like to second the motion to table this till next month. And I would amend that to say we want to not consider proposal number 1, but just to reconsider proposal 2 and 3.
And I'd like to reconsider yours because I don't think we have a month. I'd like to not put a date. Let's just make sure that we go through that process, and when you're ready for a future board meeting. Are you okay with that, Mr. President?
Yeah. Janice, you?
I would reiterate those positions. I think that it's wise to take our time and to consider all the input and all the hard work that people have put forth so that we come up with the best solution. So I agree. I think tabling it is the best idea.
Okay. All right, board. Well, we will consider that proposal table to a future date and dig into it just a little bit more.
So we're going to belabor a little longer. I'm sorry.
No, that's thank you. We appreciate that, and we're happy to bring in a recommendation back for the board's consideration at a future board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi Alter, please, on some approvals of some revised school policies.
Thank you, Board, Board President, Board members. We have a few policies that we're presenting tonight to the board on second reading, and then some brand new policies and some policies that we've amended and are presenting on first reading. I'll go through these in numerical order because I believe that's the way it was presented in your board packet. The first policy is policy 2110, the school resource officer policy. This is being presented to the board tonight on second reading. We discussed this policy last month. We created this policy to comply with the new state law that requires us to have an SRO policy outlining the roles and functions of SROs in our schools. If there aren't any questions, do you want me to go through all of them, Board President?
I think we need to vote on them separately, so
Okay,
let's
yeah.
just one bite at a time here. Board, I'd look for a motion to approve the revised policy 2110 school resource officer policy on a second reading, please. Janice, thank you. Second, Doug. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks. The next policy we have to present tonight is policy 4145, which is entitled School Entrance Requirements, Birth Certificates and Immunizations. This policy is a brand new policy. We are presenting it to the board tonight on the first reading. This policy is a combination of some other policies we've had that have been part of different policies. As we're going through our policy revision, we thought it appropriate to have a separate policy specific to the documentation that is required for our students as they first come into our schools, primarily in kindergarten, but as they enroll anytime throughout their school career. State law requires that we ask for birth certificates and for certain immunizations, and the process and the types of documentation that we are allowed to accept is outlined in state law and put into this policy. So with that, I'm happy to entertain questions. If not, we present this to the board to accept on first reading.
Janice, go.
Yes.
I'm just curious. I understand, having had 6 children go through the school system, what is required as they enter. Is this in our present environment, is this mandating any other immunizations or vaccines or any surprises like that?
That's it. No. Board Member Christensen, on page 3 of the policy, it actually outlines the required vaccinations, and those are all outlined in state law, and that hasn't changed in years.
Thank you.
Thanks. Board, I would look for an approval or a motion to approve the revised policy 4145 school entrance requirements, birth certificates and immunizations on a first reading, please. Kelly, thank you. Second. John, thank you. Any further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks. The next policy is policy 4160, the residency and enrollment policy. We presented this policy to the board earlier this year, just in May, and when we did, we realized at the time that there were some concerns regarding our provisions in the policy about boundary exceptions as they apply to students who were enrolled in the dual language immersion program. So we took it back, we reworked it, and addressed some of those concerns as we discussed in study session earlier, and then are now bringing the policy back for a second reading tonight. And I'm happy to speak to some of those concerns if that would benefit the board and the public, or we can just
No, I just wanted to make the comment that some of those policy or provisions were just due to concerns coming from some of the community in my area with the high school proposal, the boundary changes in terms of dual language immersion students, and whether or not if students discontinued their participation in dual language immersion, what happens. And so I think, and then as well as if the district discontinued dual language immersion. And so I think the changes just make it really clear so there's no confusion, as well as making those changes about transportation. So I appreciate your work on that.
Anyone else? Okay, I would look for a motion to approve the revised policy 4160, residency and enrollment on the second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Motion second. Janice, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next policy is policy 5300. We presented this policy last month on a second reading and the board did adopt it, but after the meeting, we were informed by a member of our law enforcement agency, the SROs that are here, that we did oversee a particular provision and we wanted to make sure that we got it right. And so we amended the provision. Particularly, this applied to contraband that administrators confiscate from students after a search and who keeps that contraband. Earlier in the policy, it was not quite clear what type of materials had to be turned over to law enforcement versus what materials and items were kept by administrators. And we clarified that certain items would need to be turned over to law enforcement. And so we present this to the board tonight on a third reading.
Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the revised policy 5300, search and seizure, on a third reading. Doug, thank you. Second. John, any further discussion or questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Two more.
The next policy, policy 6800, is a new policy that was drafted in response to a state law requiring all districts to offer translation services for our families that don't have English as a first language or a language that they speak in their homes. So the policy outlines the services that our district offers. Our district has been offering translation services through our equity department. We have a vendor that we use and we've been using for a while that helps families who don't speak English communicate with the schools. This policy just articulates our practice and implements what's required in state law.
Thank you, Heidi. I would look for an approval of new policy 6800, interpretation and translation services, on a first reading.
So moved.
John, thank you. A second, please. Kelly, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The last policy is policy 8400, which is being presented tonight on a second reading. Last month, we discussed the video usage policy with regard to the processes and procedures that teachers are to follow when using video clips, either in part or in full movies, to present to show to their classrooms. We did have discussion at the last month meeting about whether or not we wanted to require parent consent before students view full movies. And the discussion between last month and now with board members was that yes, for ninth graders who may be viewing PG-13 movies, we would require them to have parental consent. And that was added to section 5 of this policy. Other than that, nothing was changed since last month.
Board, I'd ask for an approval for revised policy 8400, audio and visual media usage, on a second reading, please.
I'll make that motion.
Kelly, thank you. Second.
Sure.
John, any discussion or questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
One of these days, we'll get these narrowed down a little bit, won't we? Board, at this time, we need to move into a closed session. This is a strategy session to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. Dr. Peterson, will you conduct a roll call, please?
Yes. This is a roll call vote to move into the closed session. When I call your name, say yes or no. Would they support that? Kelly Larson?
Yes.
Janice Christensen? Douglas Hurst? John Ritchie?
Yes.
And Paul Widdowson?
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. That concludes our board meeting tonight. We appreciate everyone's attendance and your input, and thank you, and drive home safely.